a lot of people feel that Williams-Sonoma is the poster child for what not to own. I think what a lot of people look at is the charge bid, because that is an amazing company, and they've got a buyback. They've got a lot of capital. And I think that you're selling Laura Albert, who is CEO, was here last week, at these prices, David, is fancy.
Don't sell.
Not down here. No. Don't sell Williams-Sonoma. You're selling West Elm, which is doing incredibly well. You're selling a company that is very much in tune with what millennials and Gen Xers want. And I don't think you're early when you're selling it when it's cut in half. A lot of the semiconductor companies are cut in half. People still want to cut them in half again. But I think this company is a very good company. And it's time to be thinking about buying it, not selling it.
There are some of the semis you just referred to that have had their market caps, including, of course, NVIDIA there, cut in half. But you're not as enthusiastic on them as you are on Williams-Sonoma.
No, I mean, President Biden's heard of them. That's not a SOB. President Biden, I think that they're uniquely afraid. I mean this, Carl. If you look at the new coded stuff that they're doing for video games, I think that the president and his people actually worried that these are so sophisticated that they can be turned in to something. They can weaponize these. Now, I believe Jensen Huang, the ones that they're sending are really not weaponizable. But when you look at the party Congress this weekend, I mean, I think these guys want to weaponize anything. And so look out for Intel, which just got downgraded by somebody's still recommending Intel. I happen to like AMD very much. I happen to really like NVIDIA, but I think that you're against the government here.
Yeah, well, certainly casinos are getting roped in this morning, some of our biggest laggards.
Anything connected to China at all,
right? They're
just blasting it.
Here's some stats for you. The Hang Seng, there are only 6 occasions over the last 20 years, since 2002, when the index's daily returns were worse than today's.
Wow.
And that is, as you see, down almost 4%. 5 out of 6 times the index rebounded the next day, though, up an average of 8.4%.
Oh, so people come on today and buy.
So you got that
they'll look
going
like geniuses.
We've already talked about the performance of Alibaba, for example, which is just getting crushed right now, down 12%.
Right.
The one-time and still continued leader in e-commerce activity in the country.
Look.
With a number of other important businesses.
Let's say if they were not a communist country, I would say buy. I think that what they don't realize, this weekend the communists solidified their hold. The people who might have been reformers seem to be expunged. And yet we're supposed to just pretend and say, listen, look at the cash flow. Or the government could take that away in a nanosecond.
But there are those who believe the government has already cracked down to a certain extent on technology companies, suffered the consequences. There's been significant slowdowns in the economy, not just from the COVID lockdowns, but from those crackdowns, so to speak. And they actually have pulled back a bit from that.
Well, I just think that you're depending upon a country that could put a tax on wealth. There's so many things they could do to make it so that rich people have to be punished now that the reformers are gone.
He's not as focused on the elites, others would say, as his predecessor, Hu Jintao, was, for example, when there was a lot more corruption. Right. In fact, he's focused on the hundreds of millions of people who are still living in poverty in that country.
Look, I mean, I always hate to say it, they've done a remarkable job. 400 million people taken out of poverty. I think that's terrific. I think the American people and the Chinese people have tremendous regard for each other, but I think the leaders are out of whack. When my father worked for the Chinese, it couldn't have been more. I mean, it's like that's anecdotal, obviously, but everybody who worked for the Chinese here, particularly the elderly, just respect and loved. Yeah. What's a shame about this.
She knows the U.S. well too. You know, he spent time in Iowa as a kid.
Yeah, it's just such a shame. There's so much commonality between these two countries. It is just such a shame.
Does it make you wonder how they're viewing Tesla? As either friend or foe? Well, again, one of our laggards this morning.
Yeah, well, I just think that one of the reasons why people liked initially, David, Alphabet was it didn't have any China. Maybe that comes back. We don't talk about Alphabet anymore. It's a pretty big company.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.